For Joe Biden, guys, he was diagnosed with cancer. This isn't satire or a joke. You really should pray for him. But the egregious part of all this is that his health conditions have been covered up for years. So here are 10 signs of his mental and physical decline that everyone missed. Number 1, the time Biden appeared at a press conference with Frankenstein's monster bolts in his neck. Talk about a faux pas. Number 2, White House visitor logs showed over 17 visits by this dark hooded figure with a scythe. Wonder who that could be. Number 3, he couldn't name even one of the 151 first-generation Pokemon. Not good. I mean, all you have to do is sing along with the Poke Rap. Number 4, White House sources say staffers could only communicate with him using a Ouija board, all while claiming he was fine in public. Sad. Number 5, he stranded hundreds of Americans in Afghanistan and left behind billions of dollars worth of equipment. He had to have dementia, or else he's just a really evil guy. Probably just the dementia, though. Number 6, Biden had an old, wise sorcerer on staff to keep him alive via dark magic. In hindsight, the signs were all there. Number 7, one time, Biden didn't blink for 19 hours straight. He just stood there, staring straight ahead, which was really weird because he was visiting a kindergarten class at the time and they had to just turn him around and put him in the corner of the room until he rebooted. Number 8, that time at that press conference in Massachusetts in 2022 when he literally said that he has cancer.
That's why I and damn many other people I grew up have cancer.
Sometimes you gotta read between the lines. But this isn't one of those times. He said it. Number 9, he had an intense Oval Office meeting with Rutherford B. Hayes. That's not even a real person. Number 10, finally the most obvious sign of his mental decline, he selected Kamala Harris as his running mate. This man was not well. Now that we've laid out all the evidence of Biden's decline, we just can't figure out how he could have missed the signs. We just want to say thank you to all the brave journalists and Democrats for finally uncovering the truth. The rest of us were just too blind to see.
10, 3, 8. Somewhere in the bowels of the city that never sleeps,
Kevin McCullough, radio host with Salem Media,
is a man also not sleeping.
Syndicated radio talk show host Kevin McCullough.
And that guy would like a word with you.
Many of you know him as Vostradamus.
Of course that Kevin show is going to be great. The only thing that could be greater, of course, would be that Donald show. We don't have that, so we have that Kevin show.
Featuring the music of Dick Tunney and the Dream in Color Orchestra. Straight ahead. Why is the nation improving? Jorge Martinez, Lou Basenese, Jack Ciattarelli, and Kelsey Pritchard, all straight ahead. Sketch comedy from the Babylon Bee and a cartoon by Al Berry. And paying tribute to those who paid everything. Danny Goki on this Memorial Weekend edition of That Kevin Show. And now from Times Square, where he's constantly confusing the Tren de Agua, the bustling tourists, the pizza rats, and the pigeons equally, here's That Kevin!
I don't know if I'm confusing them all equally, but I don't mind. Except for the tourists. I like the tourists. I like them to bustle. I don't want them to be confused. But if we can confuse the Tren de Agua, the pigeons, and the rats, because they're all kind of the same when you think about it. I mean, a pigeon is a flying rat, and a Tren de Agua is a human rat. They're just all in, different forms. And they pale in comparison to these anti-Semitic rats that we have running Harvard University and Columbia University these days. I don't know why people think academics deserve such deference in our society. I don't know why they think that just because you're the president of a university or you're tenured at an Ivy League school, that you in some way deserve such, quote, respect that we're forced, we're kind of intimidated into trying to overlook all of the nonsense and bile that your brain and your actions and your policies are turning out on our country. And I'm sorry to be in kind of a little bit of a bad mood here at the start of the show, but this is Memorial Day weekend. This is a weekend in which I like to spend time thinking about my two grandfathers who served in the big war in the Navy. and the things that they faced that they could barely speak about with me when I was young and growing up. And I wanted to know more about what they experienced, and they barely could because of the emotion that it stirred up in them to have to go and fight such great evil. And we have a guy that walks in the middle of an out and bustling evening in one of America's major cities, pulls out a gun, and doesn't just shoot a couple and leave them for dead. When he sees that the innocent woman who has never done a thing to him, and as best as we could tell, never harmed a human being in her entire life, when he sees her begin to try to just barely crawl away with what little strength she had left, he turns, recoils, recocks the gun, and fires again. And in the pain that she is now experiencing that had to be overwhelming, she sits up and tries to face him to beg and plead for her life. He shoots her at point blank right in the face. And you have the president of Harvard and the president of Columbia basically looking the other way and encouraging the demonstrations that support that heinous evil in its presence. And we call them our highest institutions of learning. This is a problem because my grandfathers in those naval uniforms, on those boats, in those theaters, went and fought the very evil that bared its teeth and did that in an American city this last week. Thank God that Donald Trump is our president. Thank God that Jeanine Pirro is going to be the prosecutor that puts this animal down. Because we have gotten to the point where, for some reason, if you say it in lofty enough language, if you appear to be thoughtful, can you imagine what the case would be if Kamala Harris was president right now? So somebody would ask her a halfway difficult question from the press corps, and she would say, well, we have to understand that through the passage of time, that there's been times when these people had things happen, and we have to understand. No, we don't. There is no more of that. We live in 2025. And if you want to trace the history and the problems of the region back a number of years, let's go all the way back to the beginning of the first Jewish state that occupied that land, that had a kingdom on that land. 5 different Jewish states have had existences in what we now call Israel since the beginning of time. Don't give me this garbage about the 1930s and the 1940s and the world government and all the rest of it. If you want to go back and look at history, let's go back and look at history. But what we don't need to be doing is shooting Israeli embassy employees who aren't even, they are Jewish by ethnicity. They weren't even Jewish by faith. They happen to be Christians that embrace their Jewish ethnicity and identity, and they tie their Savior to the foundational faith that their family comes from. They are messianic. They are Jewish and Christian in practice. And we're supposed to just believe that because the guy walks in without even shedding a drop of sweat and says, "Free Palestine, this was for Gaza." We're supposed to, kvetch and handhold and say, oh, well, what must he have gone through in order to get to the... You know what he went through? He saw over and over the words globalize the intifada, and he did it. Here's my problem with this entire protest, and you people that want to say this is a First Amendment issue. If I tried walking down the street, or if somebody I know tried walking down the street, a KKK member tried walking down the street and had big posters that said, let's burn all black people at the stake, how long do you think that poster would be allowed to be held up? How long before you think that person would be tackled and punished for his viewpoint? I might be one of them involved in the tackling and the punishing, because we don't treat human beings that way. And yet these people are allowed to say globalize the intifada, which the word intifada is to kill all of the Jews, to literally massacre them like we did in World War II all over again. It is a justification in one word of that very concept. And here we have to, in some way, allow that to be said over and over again so that this kind of animal can come up and do this to this beautiful couple who were innocent of any wrongdoing. Friends, it is Memorial Day weekend, and we honor those who served in uniform and who paid the ultimate price so that you and I can sit here today and even have this discussion. But I will not rest as long as this anti-Semitism that's leading to a Jewish retracing of atrocities similar to the Holocaust, we must put this down. Thank God for Donald Trump. Thank God for Jeanine Pirro. Coming right back. We've got a huge show. It's Memorial Weekend. Stay with us. Welcome back to Times Square, the world's greatest city, the world's greatest country, and maybe the world's greatest policy institute. I always love to talk to America First. Why? Because they put America first. It's there in the name, and that's what it's all about, because that's why we reelected President Donald Trump, to come put America first after they had been put in the back of the bus for the last 4 years, but it's time to move them back to the front, and that's exactly what's happening between the amazing number of trade deals, the amazing number of partnerships on the foreign policy front, and now we're talking about even the big, beautiful bill this last week. Over the weekend, they went into the weekend and they hadn't gotten it out of Chip Roy's committee. Doggone Chip Roy. And then by the time Monday rolled around, they had had it come out. And Jorge Martinez is with us from AFPI to discuss this and other items. Jorge, it's good to meet you in person. Thank you for being here. Evidently, you know me better than I know you, and I feel odd about that, but I'm glad that you're here. How are you interpreting, you do a lot of advanced work for the VP and the president. How are you interpreting the impact of America First as a philosophy, as the Policy Institute is working its job, and even as the president is enabling the agenda on the national and now international stage? I mean, billions of development coming back from his Middle East trip. What grade would you give us at this point?
Well, I would certainly give it an A. We are moving at such a fast pace that even the Biden folks are saying, "Wow, the pace that impact is happening these days is at an astronomical level." And just a little bit of background: America First Policy Institute was created back in 2022 by then CEO Brooke Rollins, our now Secretary of Agriculture. And she wanted to really continue the Trump 2.0 policy agenda that was supposed to be for Trump's second term in 2021. But she got together with Linda McMahon, our now Secretary of Education, and Larry Kudlow, and really charted a path to continue those policies and develop what eventually became the America First agenda. And the impact that it's had on the American people and the economy and different sectors of American life is pretty significant. We found recently that about 86% of policies implemented by this administration so far, of about 196 different items, 86% were developed and created by AFPI. So the impact is enormous. But frankly, this administration has, unfortunately, a lot of work to do because of 4 years of failed policies from the Biden-Harris era, whether it's Bidenomics, open border policies, the Build Back Better bill. They left us with record level inflation, the cost of goods astronomical, energy that no one could afford, et cetera, et cetera. So President Trump and Vice President Vance have a pro-growth American worker, America First agenda that will truly make a difference in the people of this country and bring back that prosperity, safety, and security that we all so cherished in the first administration.
Yeah, and we really did. And I keep telling people this all the time, but you know it as well as anybody. In the first administration, he had a lot of subterfuge that he also had to fight through to get his agenda done, even in his own administration, because there were scallywags that were posted at different places that just stopped the ball from rolling. Then you add Russia, you had all the other garbage that he had to face. In this iteration of Trump, he's come into office with a clean slate, nothing to distract him from it. He put little mini-me's at the top of all of his administrative posts, people that will get up and work a long day, make sure the job gets done, do it to the expectation of what he holds, which is a very high standard. And what you're seeing is literally an entire executive branch that is basically on fire and saying we're not giving up 1 second of opportunity when we're here on the taxpayer's dime. It's our obligation to get as much work done as we can because there's so much that needs to be done. You know, forget the wine and cheese gathering. He didn't even go to the White House Correspondents' dinner this year. And I'm not saying he's working 24/7, but in his mind he is. And this approach, all of government on the same page, pulling in the same direction, getting the job done. We've never seen it, I don't think, before in American history. And the results that are happening here at just barely 100 days plus are amazing.
Right. Listen, again, we had to battle, record level inflation, skyrocketing unemployment, stagnant wages, et cetera. And his agenda is one that makes us energy independent again, that creates jobs, that lifts up wages, and puts the American people and American workers first. You saw the successes from the trip to the Middle East this past week, where he announced more than $2 trillion in investments in America, and that is just the Middle East.
Yeah.
We're not talking about the trillions and trillions of dollars that have been committed by companies investing in America to create well-paying jobs, to bring back that prosperity that we so deserve, that, bring back hope so that everyone is able to achieve their version of the American dream. And more importantly, so that we can protect our shared values of faith, family, freedom, and meaningful work.
Yeah. Well, and he's doing so in such a way. Katie McFarland's a regular guest with me, and I know she's not part of your work formally, but she's a big fan. But she has explained over and over again how the way you bring about global peace is that you engage with countries on an economic level, not on a military level. We don't need to go fight Ukraine's war. We need to help them develop a new country. We need to be partners in their rare earth program. We need to go to the Middle East and not say, we're gonna help you fight Iran. No, we're just going to have such a strong economic presence between our two countries that the bad guys won't even think about wanting to go against you because of what it would mean globally. And you know who's done the opposite for a number of years is China. China has gone in, they've carved out much of the African continent, they've gone into other places in Asia and even in Europe and in the Americas, making deals, taking over pieces of land, trying to get rare earth programs going themselves, and usually enslaving communities in order to be able to get it done. We're not taking that approach. Right. And I think that we're actually exporting the America First agenda to a lot of these places by saying you can be a part of the economic success here too. And the unity that provides then with that country going forward, we don't have to talk about boots on ground or, you getting into wars or anything, because nobody's going to want to take you on because of your association with us. And I think it's a long-term play that may not even have really that much direct impact over the next 4 years, because I think we're going to come out of these wars and I think things are going to kind of calm down. But I think long term, he's preparing the country to be in a better position long after he's no longer in office, which is really the legacy of a great leader.
Well, no, he certainly is. And here's the thing, when he talks about, investing in America and peace through strength, right? This is exactly what you're talking about, ensuring that it's not just a military response to every single conflict that happens across the globe, but really truly empowering communities, not just in the United States, but across the world. and our national security is protected.
Stick around for more of That Kevin. Next, That Kevin Show with Kevin McCullough. From New York, That Kevin McCullough.
Welcome back to Times Square. Kevin McCullough, very glad to have you with us, and so thankful that I get to do this, to be able to chat with you about the most important stories of the week and have a little fun along the way, enjoy some good comedy, enjoy some good music, but really kind of narrow down on the biggest issues that we face. And one of the things that I do at this show is I use, I tithe it back to God. If that sounds a little weird to you, what I mean by that is I use a portion of what I do by way of airtime that's quite costly to do something that I feel like he wants me to do. And for the, 170th time in as many years, we are assisting the efforts of Christian Solidarity International in liberating human slaves. Now, you may be saying to yourself, Kev, I don't think there's slavery going on planet Earth. But if you were to say that, you would be historically misguided, because there's more slaves on the planet right now than ever before in human history. And what Christian Solidarity International has been doing with our help and working together over the last number of years is getting freedom for those who are in slavery, and once out, giving them a brand new life. The slaves that we're helping in particular happen to be spoils of war, women that were taken as captive in the Sudan Civil War, marched north by their Arab captors, enslaved in horrendous physical conditions, and then told basically that they had lost their life, that they weren't allowed to talk, to do anything that displeased the slave master, could immediately bring about beatings or worse. Most of them have been ritualistically sexually assaulted over time. And many of them have wondered, is there a God? Is there anyone who will hear our cry or come help us? And I have to say, because of your faithfulness over the last number of years, we have seen just a shade under 5,000 human beings liberated and given a brand new future. And it's been so rewarding to be a part of that. The number is 888-342-1010, 888-342-1010, or bringherhome.org. Our goal this year is to help liberate another 208. And thanks to your efforts thus far, we have made some good headway on that. 12 have been liberated thus far, but we have a long way to go to hit that goal. So would you help us right now? In the meantime, I want you to have an understanding of the type of person that you're helping. Listen to Abuk's liberation story.
My name is Abuk, and this is my liberation story. As I crossed the border into South Sudan, I realized something big was changing for me. I don't remember how old I was when I was taken captive, and I'm unsure of how many years I spent in slavery. But I know that it was the longest season of my life. But in November of this year, 2023, that changed when I was able to go home. As a child, I was a Christian in South Sudan. When I became a slave, my master forced me to take a Muslim name and do things simply because I was not one of his own. My days in slavery were incredibly hard, working all day, endless chores, cleaning, cooking, tending to cattle, with almost nothing to eat for myself. All of which paled in comparison to the most traumatic day of my slavery, where, when fetching water from my slave master's family, I was brutally raped by an entire gang of Arab men. As I return to South Sudan, I am now pregnant, carrying a child of my slave master. But despite that, I harbor no resentment toward my child. My hope for the future is to heal and rebuild and to become a good mother. And someday I would like to find any of my family if they still exist. Thank you for liberating me, and please don't stop until we get them all. My Christian name is Abuk Garangani, and that's my liberation story.
You can give another woman a liberation story by dialing 888-342-1010, 888-342-1010. Thank you to those of you who have already helped us liberate 12 women this year. Our goal is 208, so 196 to go. You can also give online at bringherhome.org, bringherhome.org, or 888-342-1010. But please go and make a difference and change a life and free a life right now.
Stick around for more of That Kevin. Next, That Kevin Show with Kevin McCullough. Here he is from New York. That Kevin McCullough.
Welcome back to That Kevin Show. Glad you're with us. ThatKevinShow.com for all the podcasts, social media, everything else you'd like to entangle yourself with me on. That's where you can go find it. Lou Basenese is my guest, and Lou, we've been working together now on a partnership. Full disclosure, we both own a portion. I own a much smaller portion than you do, and I think you own a smaller portion than Ed Kovalik does. But we're all partners in a venture called oilfacts.com. And part of the reason we started this little website adventure a couple of years ago is because, well, a few reasons. Energy is going to be in more demand, greater demand, demanding more consumption than ever before. And you can't do it eating iceberg lettuce. Like, solar and wind power are to the energy sector what iceberg lettuce is to the human body. And I guess you can survive for a period of time, but it's not really an ideal existence. And we need all forms of energy to be increased. But the specific reason why oil facts is important is because there's been a narrative that has been being told that just isn't true. Tell me a little more about that.
Yeah, listen, I would tell you that the agenda for fossil fuels, everyone should love fossil fuels because your everyday life doesn't go without them. But that side of the story has never been told, right? I mean, if you look around your office, your home, your desk, your car, your electric vehicle, even your phone, your smartphone, there are so many byproducts and products from oil derived and fossil fuels that you can't get away from it. And just because you plug your electric vehicle into an outlet doesn't mean there's not emissions that come from that from fossil fuels. You're powering it with fossil fuels. So I think, to your point, for far too long, the industry has just kind of stayed on its heels and been apologetic. And, at Prairie Operating Company, and you and I have seen at Oil Facts, we're just going to take a different stance. We're actually going to give the facts, right? Because facts are pesky things, right? They're not subject to opinion. They're just reality. And the fact is,
they don't care about your feelings. I've heard that.
No, they don't, right? And then the fact is that most people don't know the facts about oil. For instance, over the last 40, 50 years that oil production's gone up in the United States by 25%, guess what's happened to emissions? It's gone down by 78%. And that's because of technological innovation, right? So everyone paints a picture that coal, nat gas, and oil are just dirty polluters, and there's no place for them in this world, and we got to transition. The reality is, the facts are, we can't transition away from them. They're our most abundant energy source. We can actually be much more efficient with them if we apply technology to it versus just bantering back in politics and waging wars to just push an agenda that won't work economically or environmentally. So I think that's really the focus at the core of what we're doing is let's just get the information in people's hands so you can make up your own mind about it. And I think, that journey that I've gone on, that you've gone on, where we go, wow, this is really fundamental to everyday life. Why don't we know these things? Well, let's share that with the general populace so that they understand it.
And there may be those of you watching or listening that are pessimistic about this, but I will say the revered geologist Scott Tinker, formerly of the University of Texas, if you've watched his TED Talks, if you've seen any of his stuff online, this is documented truth that we're talking about here. It's not just a desire to see the world the way we want to see it. And what I love about Prairie Operating Group is, in full disclosure, Lou and I both do work with them. He is actually the executive vice president of marketing strategies, but I get to play around in the sandbox a little bit, just on the side. But one of the things I love about that company is that Ed Kovalik, who had this vision to tell the truth, and that's where Oil Facts came from, is also, as a CEO of a major fossil fuel production company, is not afraid to stick his face on TV and say, wait a minute, there's another side to this. And correct. To your point, all the CEOs of all the big energy companies usually approach the camera with, well, I'm sorry that we pump oil, but we're doing solar panels too. Right. Something good over here. And
look at all the wind we used over here to help power our refineries. Don't hate us so much.
We don't want renewable, what's called renewable. There is no renewable energy, but we're not saying we're against that. We need more energy of all sorts, but fossil fuels aren't going away. And the truth about Prairie Operating Group, real quickly, Lou, is that it is a story that has been mostly debt-free. It is the cleanest molecule produced in the energy sector, using even cleaner methods to ship it from where it comes out of the ground to where it needs to go than any other company in the country. And it's just one of those things I would really encourage people to take a look at, because it's the kind of company you can be proud to be associated with.
Yeah, listen, I don't even need a job anymore. You give a good pitch for us, but I think you're right. I mean, this is what people don't understand. We are unashamedly an American oil company, oil and gas. We're not afraid to say that's what we're all about, because we're doing it in the cleanest way possible. As you mentioned, we operate in Colorado, which has the most stringent environmental regulations. We can't flare any gas. It's also opportunistically, we're growing, right? We're creating American jobs in America, high tech, high skilled. I mean, you and I both have visited the rig. I liken it. My first time on the rig, seeing the guy controlling it with 9 panels is like a Wall Street trader that's trading in the most, advanced AI and algorithmic based trading system.
Or
so I think there's this
year-old video game cave. But
yes, I have one of those that he operates in the wall behind me here. So totally understand that. But listen, I think it's time that everyone understands that fossil fuels can't go anywhere, because we need American energy independence. We're producing about 13 million barrels a day. To keep doing that, we have to keep exploring and producing more and drilling more wells. Prairie Operating Company is in the unique position where we're a smallish company that's growing rapidly, that can grow organically through drilling more wells, but then through acquisition, where the majors might not be doing it. The people that we talked about before that were on air apologizing for their fossil fuel agenda. We're not apologetic, because we don't have anything to apologize for. We operate safely, as clean as possible. We're always technology focused on what's the next thing we can implement to make this more efficient, more environmentally friendly. So I think it's a unique and rare combination, which is why I joined the company and, ultimately got involved with you in terms of, and Eddie, creating Oil Facts, is because there's misinformation out there. And the good information is we could be all about America first, American growth, American jobs, and do it from an investment standpoint too, where there's a double bottom line.
Energy under our feet. When the president jokingly talks about the black gold, he's not really joking. Like, America is the most energy rich country on the planet. Yes. All right. Go to oilfacts.com and subscribe to the newsletter. It's absolutely free, but you're going to get all of the facts over time that you can use in conversations. It's very practical to talk to your neighbors, your relatives, your friends, even your kids. If they come home snot-nosed from college, we shouldn't be using fossil fuels.
What? We'll be right back. That Kevin.
Biden has stage 4 prostate cancer. I'm sorry, Jill. I'm sure it's hard to hear this for the first time again. It's just so out of nowhere. I mean, for years I pretended he was in perfect health. Just this morning I saw him put his shoes on in under 30 minutes. Tell me honestly, doctor, is my Joe too sick for us to pretend he's running for president again in 2028? Well, yes, Jill, he has stage 4 prostate cancer. But maybe instead you could pretend he's the president of an HOA or a book club. If we can't pretend he's president again, it may be time to put him down.
Wait, in 2018, I had a whole, I was running for a re-election, and anyway.
Are you sure there's no way for us to keep pretending he's perfectly fine, doctor? There's a drug called NZT. I saw it in a movie with Bradley Cooper. Anyone who takes it experiences heightened physical dexterity and cognitive ability. Maybe if you give Joe one of these pills, his body would pretend to heal itself. Here, Jill, have Joe take this. It's the last of my NZT supply. You're doing a great service to democracy, Bradley. Here, buddy, take this. Do you feel any different?
I feel I go for a walk, and my son Hunter gave me a deck of cards. Said I should pick one, and it's a great skill to have.
Damn it, he's too senile. Even with NCT, it's impossible for us to keep pretending he's in perfect health. I have to call Barack. I think it's time to go to Plan B.
Alright, I'm thinking we go on a press run and basically act like we didn't know and also knew about Joe's health at the same time. And if anyone calls us out for it, we'll just call them anti-democracy.
2, 3, somewhere in the bowels of the city that never sleeps,
Kevin McCullough, radio host with Salem Media,
is a man also not sleeping.
Syndicated radio talk show host Kevin McCullough.
And that guy would like a word with you.
Many of you know him as Nostradamus.
Of course that Kevin show is going to be great. The only thing that could be greater, of course, would be that Donald show. We don't have that, so we have that Kevin show.
Featuring the music of Dick Tunney and the Dream in Color Orchestra. Still to come, the next governor of the Garden State joins us, Jack Ciattarelli. Defunding Planned Parenthood, Kelsey Pritchard from Susan B. Anthony. Sketch comedy from the Babylon Bee and a cartoon from Al Berry. And back with another memorial for those who paid the ultimate price, Danny Gokey in the Spotlight. And now from Times Square, where he came for the lights, but stayed for the dirty water dogs. Here's
Happy Memorial Day weekend, everyone. For Assignment Desk Weekend, I'm Kevin McCullough. A bold revolutionary concept was reaffirmed by the Supreme Court late this week. The president is allowed to fire people. Earth-shattering, we know. Washington bureaucrats are still reeling from the news that just because Joe Biden gave you a seat on a board doesn't mean you get to sit there forever like it's a booth at Waffle House. President Trump, yes, he's back in office and back to business, cleaned house, and the court said, yep, that's how jobs work. Somewhere, Rachel Maddow is rage crying into her throw pillow. Speaking of rage, let's talk about Sean Diddy Combs, who may soon be moving from Star Island to the starred list of federal housing, the correctional kind. His $35 million Miami mansion is reportedly at risk due to ongoing investigations, mounting legal pressure, and a legal expert who said the home is no longer safe for a convicted person. That's assuming, of course, Diddy is headed that direction, which, judging by the headlines, might be more inevitable than the next Drake diss track. If convicted, Diddy won't be coming home. He'll be losing his. Now to New York, where Columbia University is learning the hard way that under President Trump's second term, civil rights law actually gets enforced. The administration has launched a full-scale investigation into whether the university deliberately ignored threats and harassment toward Jewish students during recent pro-Hamas campus protests. Apparently, Columbia was too busy hosting workshops on decolonizing brunch. Down in Florida, a 41-year-old woman was arrested for physically assaulting a 72-year-old man wearing a MAGA hat. Her defense? His hat made me do it. Eyewitnesses say she punched, scratched, and threw a drink at the man in a performance that would have earned her a Golden Globe if it weren't an actual crime. Meanwhile, Trump Agriculture Department is helping several states ban the use of food stamps to buy junk foods and soda. The goal? Encourage healthier choices. The result? Liberals screaming like someone cut off their Netflix. Let's be honest, if you're living off taxpayer dollars, you probably don't need to spend $80 a week on Mountain Dew and Doritos. The new policy motto, you want Twinkies? Get a job. And finally, Jessica Biel and Justin Timberlake are enjoying ranch life in Montana these days, having ditched Hollywood for hay bales. Biel shared a rare look at their normal life, which of course means organic eggs, yoga in denim, and the occasional bear sighting. Timberlake says he's never been happier. And Hollywood elites are still trying to figure out how to stage an intervention that doesn't involve some sort of gluten. For your Memorial Day weekend and for Assignment Desk weekend, I'm Kevin McCullough.
Second Amendment done. James Madison, you've done it again.
Not so fast.
Who are you?
Hi, I'm Brinley. I'm a Democrat from the year 2025, and I'm here to make a few simple changes on the Second Amendment.
Are there flying carriages by then? I've always wanted a flying carriage. That'd be so cool.
No. But we do have crippling depression and 400 new genders. Oh, and you can kill your own baby.
Oh, that's neat. What? No, that's terrible.
We've just come so far as a species. Anyway, so here are a few notes I have for some changes we can make to Amendment number 2.
Okay.
Number 1, you really need to add some clarity there that the Second Amendment only covers muzzle-loading muskets and nothing else.
I'm not sure what you mean, but this amendment is intended to allow Americans to own any firearm.
But what about the really scary ones?
Scary ones?
Yeah, like AR-15s, AR-16s, the ones with the high capacity, the 30 round barrel clips. You know, assault weapons.
Assault weapons? That sounds awesome. Well, I don't know what firearms you have in the future, but the point of the Second Amendment is that an armed citizenry is essential to keeping the government in check and defend our rights.
But those guns are only for the police and the military.
Do you trust your government?
Of course not.
Then why would you want them to have much better guns than you?
Shut up, James Madison! Number 2, you need to add clarifying language that common sense gun laws do not violate the Second Amendment. Okay? I'm sure that's what you really meant, right? But you really need to spell these things out for the Republicans. They're a little slow.
Common sense gun laws?
Yeah, you know, red flag laws where you can take away someone's guns at any time. Background checks, magazine capacity limitations, bans on any type of gun that is too scary. Just common sense stuff.
Does common sense mean something different in the year 2025? Look, when I wrote shall not be infringed, I meant shall not be
subject to common sense gun laws. Okay, great. Glad we're on the same page there, Jamie. Okay, got tons of other notes to go through here, so we can just stay focused. Okay, closing gun show loopholes, banning the shoulder thingy that goes up, making sure guns are only used for hunting, of course, and establishing gun-free zones.
Wait. Gun-free zones?
Yeah, you know, making sure people can't bring guns to schools, churches, hospitals, and so on.
Is there some new technology in your time that can stop a gun from being carried into such places? Some kind of advanced steam-powered force field?
No. But we have a sign.
And does that stop bad people from having guns?
No, but there's a sign.
Look. Your name is Brinley, is it? Yes? Okay. Brinley, the Second Amendment is foundational to the idea of these United States as an independent people. It's the bedrock of our democracy. It's a shield against tyranny. A country not responsible enough to bear arms is not a country worth defending.
Yeah. Counterpoint, guns are scary, and I'm gonna make a few changes.
No, stop it! You will stop.
This
is
your
highly
no, give me the
irregular.
Feather. I want the feather.
I plucked it this morning. We may disagree on the Second Amendment, but at least we can agree on the First Amendment, freedom of speech. It's good with you, right?
No. Here is the list of notes I have on the First Amendment.
Oh, geez. I need a drink. This magic box has access to all the information accumulated by all of mankind for all of history, and it fits into your coat pocket.
Yep.
What do you use it for?
Funny cat videos, mostly.
Ready or not, we'll be right back. That Kevin. Now, back to That Kevin Show with Kevin McCullough.
Welcome back to Times Square. It's That Kevin Show, thatkevinshow.com, That Kevin Show, all social media, That Kevin Show on the coffee mug. It's everywhere. We just try to be simple about it. Someone else who I think had brilliant marketing in 2021 was a guy who said, Jack for NJ. It was just very simple. It's just easy to remember, Jack for NJ. And he came this close to being the governor of the Garden State. And some of us thought that maybe there was some goofy business that went down that night. You might remember the year before there was a goofy presidential election that took place. And even though President Trump lost to President Biden by nearly 16 points in that gubernatorial race, my next guest lost by only a percentage or so. He is now back. He has now been endorsed by President Trump, and he's receiving endorsements from people all across the state. Mary Jo Ginchard, who's running again in CD5 to face Josh Gottheimer, is already come out and endorse him. And Jack Ciattarelli, welcome to That Kevin Show. It's good to have you.
Kevin, it's great to be back, and we're going to do more than just come close this time. We're going to win.
Well, and I don't do this in primaries. It's been my long-standing rule not to do this, but I'm officially endorsing you as of this conversation publicly in a primary because I feel like the stakes are too big. And I feel like at this point in time, other primary candidates need to understand what we're against and how it's going to have to be an all hands on deck, full team approach to get us across the finish line. And I'm wondering if you are sensing that energy of coming together with supporters of all different candidates since the endorsement from the president has been announced.
Well, just like the president's endorsement, Kevin, yours is not taken for granted. You've got enormous influence with your listening audience, and I greatly appreciate it. The president wants to win. I want to win. You want to win. I really believe I provide the best opportunity to do that, or I wouldn't be running for governor. We did come so close in 21, but the landscape is much different this time, and I think points towards a victory. We'll finish strong here over the last few weeks of the primary season, and then I'm looking forward to getting onto it with November's election.
Right now, the Democrats have their own problems because they can't decide what kind of party they want to be. And even the candidates in the New Jersey gubernatorial race for their nomination kind of reflect that. You've got people on kind of all ends of the spectrum. One of the things that you mentioned at the conference in Atlantic City just a few weeks ago was that you had coattails in 21 that nobody really expected. Like they thought if you won, you'd have coattails. But even though you came close and just barely missed, there were a lot of down ballot races that actually helped. Can you talk about some of that energy that happened on the ground level, the grassroots level, and because of the unifying message that your campaign had?
Kevin, the president has endorsed me, and you've endorsed me because of what I bring to the table. And that's not to be immodest, but we need a candidate who brings a very special positive energy, one who could raise the necessary money. I've proven we can do that. And one who has coattails. This isn't just about me. We've got an agenda we want to accomplish. And that agenda is easier to accomplish if we've got more Republicans winning election all around the state. You mentioned how we did in 21. We flipped 8 seats in the state legislature with a little bit of wind in my face. The wind's now at my back. I can flip at least 13 seats, at least 13. What's the significance of 13 seats? We get a Republican majority in the state assembly for the first time in 25 years. That's a big deal.
That's a huge deal. And when it comes to the actual agenda, Jack, the situation in New Jersey has only gotten more desperate since 4 years ago. Affordability's gotten worse. I think Phil Murphy actually tried to tax the homeowners of New Jersey for the amount of rain that would fall on their property. I mean, if it's not nailed down, the Democrats have decided they will try to attach a tax to it. And even if it is, they'll try to figure out some way to do it.
And look at how insulting this last budget proposal is. We're going to put a tax now on bowling, laser tag, batting cages, golf range, massages, interior design, trade in a used car. If middle-class life was already unaffordable in New Jersey, it's only going to get worse.
Yeah.
And I don't care who the nominee is on the other side, Kevin, every single one of them has been complicit in his failed policies. And make no mistake, every one of his policies has been a failure on housing, on energy, on education, on economics. It's been a failure across the board.
One of the things that I think the other side has greatly misplayed is this idea that immigration somehow flies in the face of middle class and working class voters. And yet, if you look at the crime statistics where the former administration's immigration policies really allowed just to flood zones with people that came in from outside that weren't allowed to be here, it has really hurt the working class and the middle class in ways that the media doesn't really report on. I talk about it. Some other people mention it, but it's not widely reported. But the truth is, Jack, there's an opportunity here to say not only will we not be a sanctuary state, but we are going to be a state of safety and of lower crime and of places that you have confidence in living, regardless of your income level or the amount of people that live in your neighborhood. We can do a better job on this.
Kevin, I've said all along that public safety is one of the 4 or 5 major issues in this campaign. It's an area in which the Trenton Democrats, which have ruled Trenton for 25 years, have failed us. I support the president with the border security approach. I support him in deporting those that came here illegally and deporting first and foremost those that came here illegally and then committed crimes here. We will not be a sanctuary state under Governor Ciattarelli. We will not have sanctuary cities. And my attorney general, who I appoint, will not be suing the White House for any of their executive orders. I believe every governor, no matter what their party, no matter what their location, should be working in partnership with the White House and the president, make our country safe again. We're going to get back to law and order and making sure our communities are safe here in New Jersey.
One of your primary opponents has very dishonestly projected himself as some sort of conservative, even though he's openly advocated for higher beach fees and yearly taxes and sales tax and other types of things. But he's also dishonestly represented himself as trying to pitch himself as the only guy that cares about your kids in the educational environment that they're in, and specifically the boys and girls locker room issue, which is an issue that moms care about across this country. They don't want their daughters being in vulnerable places. Since he's played so heavily to that crowd, is there anything that you would just like to reassure moms that are watching or listening who do find that very important? Because you're a dad of daughters too, and you care about these things.
Kevin, the one thing he does extremely well is lie. I voted no on the bill that would have allowed biological males into female bathrooms and female locker rooms. I've always been opposed to biological males participating in female sports. And so, but we'll just continue to go out there, tell people the truth throughout the rest of this campaign, and we'll get it done. So, and I'm confident, the one thing about a campaign, Kevin, it's very much like a fishbowl. There are some candidates, the more you see and hear, the less you like. Yeah. He seems to fall into that category.
Well, again, part of the reason why I think President Trump weighed in this race, and I chat Politico stuff with people behind the scenes a lot. You know this. You've been the subject of a few texts from time to time asking for clarification on things. But I think one of the reasons that he thought it was important enough to win with endorsement in the primary is because there's just zero chance that we have to lose this race and expect anything to change or get better. We have to win, and we have to play like 10 points behind. By the way, that's the website, jackfornj.com, jackfornj.com. If you're watching anywhere else in the country, it's one of only 2 governor's races this year, friends. You don't have other things to contribute to. Send money to Jack. He needs it. We can do this, and it would flip one of the most important states in the country if we did. I'm just saying. Coming right back from Times Square.
from New York, That Kevin McCullough.
Welcome back to That Kevin Show, thatkevinshow.com, That Kevin Show at all social media. And if you use email, thatkevinshow@gmail.com. Some people still use it. Glad to have you with us. Very thankful for the work of Susan B. Anthony's organization and for the long-time work that Pro-Life America has done on many of the most important life issues as it relates to the current state of things, which some people thought, well, you get Trump elected, a lot of these issues will just get straightened out. And there's been massive improvement across a lot of different public policy areas. But we are still funding Planned Parenthood. And I can't exactly come up with a good reason why, especially when nearly 400,000 children are aborted each year through this organization. And then as a result of the taxpayer funding model, we end up giving them about $1,600 per child. That doesn't make sense. Let's get some further insight on this from Kelsey Pritchard, who's the State Public Affairs Director for SBA Pro-Life America. That means she works with each of the states to help make sure that these issues are followed and understood. Kelsey, it's good to have you. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me, Kevin.
Did I lie in any of the stats I just said? 380-something thousand children a year at $1,600 each from taxpayer funds?
Yeah, that's right. And that goes, if you break it all down to how much money Planned Parenthood gets every single day, it's $2 million a day from taxpayers, which is just insane that we are still doing this, still funding them. And we're really hopeful that this now is the time with the Republican trifecta in Washington, D.C. to get this done through the budget bill, the one big, beautiful bill that Donald Trump is advancing and putting forward. And we hope this is finally the year that we will stop funding abortion businesses with our tax money.
Is the language in there at the present time?
It is. So the language is in there from the beginning at the House. The bill got through the Budget Committee on Sunday night. It goes to a Rules Committee, and then it goes to a full House vote. We expect that could happen this week, or it could be next week, and then it has to go on to the Senate.
Is there anything that you're nervous about in terms of the language that's there? Anybody playing their hand saying they want to object to this? We're not going to have a Susan Collins, like forgetting which party she belongs to type thing, are we?
Well, the language is solid. Right now, the way it reads is that it defunds abortion businesses generally. It's not just Planned Parenthood, but any entity that provides abortions cannot receive Medicaid funding any longer if they're going to continue to provide abortion. So it's pretty clear, pretty good language that's in the bill. And overall, Republicans have been really strong on this issue, really engaged, really amped up to get this done this year. Of course, there always are a handful of moderates who complain and oppose. And Mike Lawler is one instance of that. He has been in the news saying that he opposed defunding. But so far, so good. The bill got through those committees and will soon be to a House vote. And we're really impressed by the leadership of the Speaker, Mike Johnson, and other Republicans who are saying this is ridiculous. We should not be forced.
I think we're safe in the House. My concern is over on the Senate side, and what Thune's going to have to do to get Murkowski and Collins, and maybe even Romney. Who knows? I mean, there's always like, wait a minute, he's not there anymore. But those two in particular, Murkowski and Collins, and it doesn't take a lot to lose the advantage. So are they? Do you feel confident that they're going to whip the vote in the way that they need to?
I think we're hopeful. Now, a lot of things could go wrong between now and then, and there's a lot of
any Democrats willing to cross?
No, no. Pro-life Democrats are nearly extinct at this point, and even on something as popular as this, 60% of Americans oppose their taxpayer funding paying for abortions. So you would think this would be something we could get a couple of Democrats are. So far, that's not the case. I don't expect that to be the case. And there's always the question of, will those couple of moderates try to spoil things and ruin things? They would have to potentially oppose the whole bill if it makes it to the floor that way. And so it'll be interesting to watch, but we are very engaged on Capitol Hill. Our staff are lobbying on a daily basis. And so far, Republicans have been strong overall, and that leaves us in a hopeful place.
That's actually a better forecast than what I anticipated. So I'm glad to hear all of that. The language, certainly from the leadership, Thune and Johnson, neither one of them have any reason to oppose this, at least on the personal level. And I would like to think that they will do what's necessary as leaders in their respective bodies to get that done. Beyond that, the president's happy to sign it and watch this funding go away. I have to think that Planned Parenthood's going to load the cannons up, though, and really try to put pressure on people.
Yeah, they are fully engaged, as you would expect. They're running ads. They're targeting members in vulnerable districts. They are doing everything they can to deceive people.
And Kelsey Pritchard, thank you for all that you're doing with SBA Pro-Life America to help us not only understand it, but then to do something about it.
Stick around for more of That Kevin. Next, That Kevin Show with Kevin McCullough. Here he is from New York. That Kevin McCullough.
Welcome back. Kevin McCullough, glad to have you with us. It is That Kevin Show, thatkevinshow.com, if you want to know anything more about what we are doing with the podcasts, with the archives. Join the newsletter. There's all kinds of fun stuff on there. You can join all the social media. But thatkevinshow.com is where that's all located at. I want to take just a second here to remind you that we are in the process this year of trying to liberate 208 individual women who have had their freedom and their lives stolen from them. They were taken as captives during the Sudan Civil War a number of years ago, and for these number of years since, they have been held captive as slaves by Arab slave masters in the north of what used to be the unified Sudan. Now it's northern Sudan. And in that country, these Arab masters paid no price for humiliating, degrading, taking, beating, sexually assaulting these women as slaves in that time period. And what Christian Solidarity International, my very good partners in this work, and we, the collective community of That Kevin Show over the last number of years have been able to do is actually liberate close to 5,000 of these human lives and set them free. And how it works is very simple. They have been living in abject, grotesque abuse. When one of the slave retrievers is able to find and locate where a slave is at, we're able to negotiate the freedom of that slave, and then once returning them to their home, be able to give them a brand new life by way of everything they need to start that life, including a micro-enterprise system whereby they can have the finances to support themselves, giving them shelter from bad weather, giving them food to eat and also food to plant so that they have more food to eat in the years to come. But your $250 gift literally gives a human slave everything they need to survive and start a brand new life all over again in their hometown, in their home area where they came from in South Sudan. And friends, for those who can't track family or find friends from their childhood when they were taken, we even have started now communities of former slaves that live together, sharing their common history, but now sharing their common joy in being grouped together in a living community. And it is a wonderful, amazing thing to see. $250, by the way, does that for them. It gives them everything they need. It gives them sorghum grain to eat for the coming year. It gives them a year's worth of sorghum seed to plant for a new crop of sorghum grain. But it also gives them things like cleaning utensils and gardening utensils and fishing utensils. It gives them things to protect them from the weather, tarps and blankets and other things to keep them appropriately warm or cool depending on the weather, and everything that they need along those lines. It also gives them, and this is kind of the fun part, it gives them a little baby she-goat. And that she-goat can turn into a mother that has many other little kid goats, and those kids can be sold, and thus giving that mom an ability to sustain her life and to grow her ability to live, and even for her children. And friends, it is an amazing thing that all of this can be done for only $250. $250 wouldn't buy a year's worth of grain here, and it certainly wouldn't buy a goat worth its weight. So amazing that you are giving all of these things to this slave, this former slave. But more than anything, you're giving her her life back. You're giving her her decency back, her integrity. She's been verbally abused, physically beaten, sexually abused since she was taken into slavery. And if she ever spoke up, she ran the risk of being killed, or at least being brutalized to a much greater degree. We are doing God's work in doing this. Will you do it with us? Several of you have already given multi-slave gifts to help us get started. We have 12 that have been liberated of the 208, which leaves us with 196 to go for the year. You can help us now. 888-342-1010, 888-342-1010, or go to bringherhome.org, bringherhome.org. That's bringherhome.org, or 888-342-1010. This is the story of a book.
My name is Abuk, and this is my liberation story. As I crossed the border into South Sudan, I realized something big was changing for me. I don't remember how old I was when I was taken captive, and I'm unsure of how many years I spent in slavery. But I know that it was the longest season of my life. But in November of this year, that changed when I was able to go home. As a child, I was a Christian in South Sudan. When I became a slave, my master forced me to take a Muslim name and do things simply because I was not one of his own. My days in slavery were incredibly hard, working all day, endless chores, cleaning, cooking, tending to cattle, with almost nothing to eat for myself. All of which paled in comparison to the most traumatic day of my slavery, where, when fetching water from my slave master's family, I was brutally raped by an entire gang of Arab men. As I return to South Sudan, I am now pregnant, carrying a child of my slave master. But despite that, I harbor no resentment toward my child. My hope for the future is to heal and rebuild and to become a good mother. And someday I would like to find any of my family if they still exist. Thank you for liberating me, and please don't stop until we get them all. My Christian name is Abuk Garang Ani, and that's my liberation story.
Thank you to those of you who have already helped us liberate 12 of these precious souls this year. 196 names are still on our list, and we need your help. 888-342-1010, 888-342-1010. If you'd rather give online, it's pretty simple. Bringherhome.org, bringherhome.org, or 888-342-1010. But when you give, just know that you are setting a woman's heart and life and future free. So we ask that you would be as generous as you can. And 888-342-1010 or bringherhome.org.
Stick around for more of That Kevin. Next, That Kevin Show with Kevin McCullough.